Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're live today with Alexa Bigworth from Write Women in Publishing Summit, which is coming up very soon, and Write, Publish, Sell. Welcome, Alexa.
Thank you so much for having me here, Joellen. Always glad
I'm
to
so
be.
excited. Okay, so we have promised a lot today. This is our first in 4 series, and we will make sure that we're getting it all and happening the way we want it to happen. So let me see here. I'm just going to tell you all what's going on. Please sign in, say hello, tell us where you're from. If you've got a specific work in process right now, go ahead and let us know about your book, your journal, whatever you're doing, and we will get started here. So welcome to the book editing marketing. Oops. And I lost my information there. Just disappeared. That was just wonderful. Just disappeared.
Technology.
There it is.
Technology.
Welcome to the book editing, marketing, and publishing. It's going to be a 4-part series, and this is for authors and writers. So today we have Alexa Bigworth with us. I'm wondering if my internet is going there, from writepublishsell.com and the founder of Women in Publishing Summit. So let me share a little bit of information about Alexa while everyone's signing in and saying hello. Over the last decade, Alexa's team and company, writepublishsell.com, has helped thousands and thousands of authors through all of their information, their webinars, their conferences, their coaching, their online community, and their book marketing services. She has an ever expanding team, and now they serve as experts in the publishing and book marketing world. So we're very lucky to have her today. Alexa is passionate about advocating for authors like yourself, and she helps writers just like you to make well-informed decisions on the steps needed to actually publish and market your book. And she teaches you how to find the right resources and partners and tools in your publishing journey. And it's providing valuable tips to ensure that you make the right decisions and you can actually market your book. So it's very important. And Write, Publish, Sell, you should go visit them. They offer paid courses, coaching, training, and an online community, which is growing really fast. Plus, they have tons of help that will help you to succeed as an author. So check them out. I'm Joellen Nordstrom of firstediting.com, and I am here as a certified story coach today and a professional editor. So today we go behind the scenes with both a publisher and an editor to give you all the kind of advice of what you need to do to prepare. We had an interview on December 14th, and it was an intro to this series. So this is the book editing, marketing, and publishing 4-part series, and we'll be going through those throughout this as we move along. Okay, let's see here. So here you're going to learn how to self-edit and prepare your book for publishing, and we're going to go talk about all of that today. So let's see. And we're going to try to save you some time and money on that return on your investment, because it's quite a bit. So we want you to discover what you basically need to do and prepare yourself when you are editing and self-editing, and when you're getting ready to publish. Get insights from the editor and also the book publisher, so that you can meet their requirements and make it easier on you when you're preparing your book for distribution. And this is a series that's going to empower you to edit, publish, and sell your book effectively. So I know that we are promising a lot today, and we promised a 15-minute intensive, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A. So we're going to power right through it. I do want to ask you to subscribe, like, and follow us, and join us. And of course, all of this is being recorded. We will send it to you later, so there's no worries there. So let's see here. Let's get started. Alexa, I am so excited. And I'm so excited because you have the upcoming Women in Publishing Summit. This is which year for you?
This is our 6th year as the Women in Publishing Summit and our 8th or 9th overall conference. So yeah, been doing this a little while. It's always a great event.
That is so great. All right, so let's just see here. I've got our questions here. I'm going to bring them up so that we can hit it hard and go through here. I just want to look in our comments. And people, you are welcome to send in your questions as we go. We'll hit them as best as we can. Just want to say hello to Wyoming, Central Oregon on their second picture book, Denver, Romance was from Wyoming. Sorry, I missed that. And another book in her series. That's great. Denver, North Carolina, trafficking. There's all kinds of stuff. Oh, I've missed all the. There's so many notes here. Tony Robbins event. Oh no. Yes, you can go to your Tony Robbins. Devon in UK, Gloucester. We got Maryland, Staffordshire. A lot from the UK today. Cincinnati, Ohio. Upcoming Super Bowl winner, Bengals. Up there, woohoo! Again, it's snowing. I understand. I'm sitting in Uppsala, Sweden, and it is winter and it is dark here. Hillsborough, North Carolina, Bloomington, Indiana, one of my favorite places. Nice little space there. Chicago, again, Toronto, Amarillo, Texas. Hi from Kansas. I'm from Salina originally. Hello, Kansas. Let's see here. Top of the afternoon, everyone. Cranberry, New Jersey. Wow. Aloha. Woohoo! Memphis, Escondido, California. Next chapter editing here. Chile, Northern Idaho, Toronto, New Orleans, Chicago. Oh my goodness. I hope we're good. Italy. Hello. And you were recently in Italy, weren't you, Alexa?
I was last March, yes, for the Bologna Book Fair. That was a pretty amazing experience. The first time a live book event like that was opened back up again to public, and it was a little overwhelming, but wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Excellent. Okay, sunny Austin, Texas. We've got all kinds of OKC, Oklahoma City, I'm guessing, and Texas, New Hampshire, Alexa.
I am in South Carolina, so hello to the person in Myrtle Beach.
Myrtle Beach, Puerto Rico, Windsor, Ontario, Roswell, Georgia, more Montana, Wyoming. Okay, I covered those at the beginning. All right, let me get to our questions, folks. I just want to say thank you for joining us. Again, follow, share, subscribe. We will have 4-part series. This is the first one, and we will start with our first question. So today we're doing the book editing secrets to successful publishing, and we're going to plan your manuscript strategically and edit before approaching an agent. So today is about when, why, and how to edit. And those are the questions we're going to be covering. And that's the first of 4. So Alexa, we're going to start with you. What does an agent look for in their book? The reasons publishers tell you to go get an editor.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I answer that question in full, or while I'm answering, I'd like to ask how many of you are seeking an agent and how many of you are going down the self-publishing or hybrid publishing route? Because, we don't want to spend a whole lot of time here if people aren't looking for an agent. But I would say, even if you're looking for to go with a hybrid publisher or a smaller publisher, a lot of these will still apply whether you are going through a solicited or non-solicited, which basically that just means, do you need an agent or not when you submit? The basic answer here is that no matter which route you're going to publish it, you want to make sure that your book is as perfect as it possibly can be. We all know, even in traditionally published books, even from large publishers, sometimes an edit or two gets missed. But before you start submitting to an agent, you do want to make sure that you have had it workshopped, that you've had plenty of feedback, and that you've taken the time to make sure it's as good as possible, especially that intro and opening page and chapter. A lot of agents won't even go past it if the first page has any issues in it. And ironically, even if you get an agent, you'll probably still wind up going through another heavy round of edits. But the point is, before you submit to an agent or to any publisher, you want your book to be as polished as possible, your best foot forward, to make sure that what they see is pretty close to what it's going to be at the end, so that they're like, okay, this is a good book we know we can work with. If you're self-publishing, you are that agent and publisher. So you want to make sure that you're giving yourself the best foot forward you can by having a really polished book.
Exactly. Okay, and please, everyone, you're welcome to put your comments and your questions in there, and again, answer that, because that's the advantage of having an actual publisher here. we can walk you through all of that. So,
And if I can answer Michael's question really quickly, I know I'm messing
sure.
up our system here, but yeah, you're
No.
right. When an agent rejects you, they're probably not going to tell you why. And there's a lot of reasons why it could be rejected. One is if the first chapter does not grab them, if the first page, if the first paragraph does not grab them, if it's not really well written and set to go out the door in a way that captivates them to want to keep reading, that's a big reason. The second is they may just be the wrong agent. If they don't feel like they can do your book in a good way for them and put your book out into the world in a good way. The third is often, is this book going to sell? Have we seen too many versions of this book? Is this too original? Believe it or not, that happens sometimes when they don't believe it's going to sell. So a lot of it is based on what they believe they can sell to a publisher and what they believe publishers are looking for, because it's a business and we've got to be able to sell those books.
Right, right. Very important that you match their qualifications. And I think that's also one of the things we want to mention is that, you don't just approach any publisher. You really need to make sure that you're a match. All of these steps are matchmaking to get the best results for you. So when you're looking for a publisher, it needs to match. And when you're looking for an editor, it needs to match. And you need to know what you're looking for, because the editors and the publishers, we know who we can work with. We know exactly what it is. And if you haven't figured that one out, spend a little time digging into, what is your book similar to? Where's your genre? And who's the best person to approach for all that? So, do we have anything more on that? Any other questions in
I
regards
see
to
some
that?
really great questions that I'd love to
Okay.
answer, but I don't know if you want to wait till the official Q&A session or if you want me to
No,
answer them while they're relevant. Okay.
I think it's best to answer while they're relevant. Yeah.
Perfect. Let's do it then. So, Victoria, workshopping basically means going to a writers group, getting with other critique partners, and going through your chapters with them and getting their feedback, and then making sure that you implement that feedback and make it as good as possible. So, as Joellen will talk about with the self-editing process, that's a big part of it, is actually getting feedback from other writers and other people who may be a little farther along than you to really work through that book. How you find out what publishers are looking for from L. McIntyre. So that's a great question. You can go over to publishersmarketplace.com and you can look at what books are being published, what genres, who's representing them, all of those types of things. That's a great way for you to figure out what certain types of publishers are looking for. The other thing you can do is you can look in books that are similar to yours and find out who's published that book. So if you love a certain book, look at the publisher, look at a couple different publishers, and then look them up and see if they are taking manuscripts in those genres. And finally, Google. Just go to Google and say publisher for historical romance, World War II. Some of the other topics in there. So that's a great way to find out who's publishing books like that.
Excellent question. Excellent question. So, do we have any others that we want to cover right now?
Is there a resource guide for finding your agent? I don't know of that particular thing, but you can go to Publishers Marketplace. There's something similar for agents. You can go to events. You can get on Twitter, where a lot of agents hang out, and look for agents that are taking manuscripts. You can Google agent plus your type of book to see if you can find something. Attend conferences. We're going to have several agents available at the Women in Publishing Summit that will be answering questions and will be providing some feedback through a slush fest. So
that's excellent. Excellent. All right. Excellent. Excellent. Any others? We'll catch you as we go here. So the next questions that we had, and we talked about this before we started, was basically, when do you edit and where do you find an editor and who is right for your book? So again, these are all matchmaking questions. And the first one is, people always ask, when do I edit? And I'm going to try to give you the very condensed version. I will send you some links to more information we have, but the first step is always asking yourself, if you're completely done with the outline and you're completely done with the first rough draft of your manuscript, that's where we need to be. But since we're going to publishing, that should be all the way done. So you shouldn't really be looking for a developmental edit unless you're really worried about some strengths, if there's plot holes, if there's anything like that you're concerned about, your characters or your authority. If it's a nonfiction, are you making sure that you're establishing yourself? Do you have clear call to actions? Do you have a clear purpose of why you're writing this book and who your audience is? So those are the different ones. So when do you edit? If you're going to do a developmental edit, you do that at the beginning when you're doing an outline. And then, of course, once you are secure and you've done your self-editing, that's a good time to start looking for that editor. So that can be, If you are done with your revisions, then you're going to be looking for a copy editor. If you're still in the revisionary stage and maybe you've gotten some feedback from others, you're looking for mainly a content or line edit. And again, if you're still got big concerns about the overall presentation, then that would be a developmental edit. So those are the different ways. But at any point when you throw your hands up in the air and say, I can't do it anymore, that's the ideal time to start editing. It's, if all else fails, that's always there. But you will need to have it edited at some point because you need to have fresh eyes. You need to have a neutral third party who is going to professionally tell you what's right and what you're doing well so you can do it again. And also they're going to tell you what needs to be strengthened and improved. And it's a learning process, which is really great because you will become a better writer and a better editor through the process of editing. So it is there. And when you're looking for that editor, of course, depending upon what level of editing you're doing, then you're going to be searching for that editor. And again, online is the best way. We're online, First Editing, and you can find us. And basically, you need to find somebody who knows your genre. Mm-hmm. You need to find somebody who has a good, portfolio of references and testimonials of success. Because I'm telling you, in today's world, with this gig economy, everybody claims they can edit. Oh, I wrote a book, I can edit your book. No, that doesn't qualify them. It's not the same at all. And you want to make sure that they've worked in the publishing industry. And also, my suggestion is always get a free sample, because that's going to let you see how they communicate with you, if you're a good match. And we're not always a good match. People come in and it doesn't click for whatever reason, then that's fine. It is a matchmaking. Editing is expensive, it's time consuming, and it's something that when you do it, you commit to it, you want to make sure that you get the best return on your investment there. So make sure you get a sample, and then also be clear with your expectations and demands in terms of what you need, any style guide you're following, who you're approaching, and what they need when you're submitting. If you don't know, you need to go on the publishing house, because they have very specific rules for submitting, and you better be following those, and the editor can help you do that. Also, making sure that it meets the style guide and everything is matching up very, very clear there. So, and then, they'll and the delivery time. That's why I want to mention delivery time, that they can meet your guideline. Because one of the interesting things that Alexa and I discussed between us is, how editing fits into the publishing timeline. But if you're not prepared and you don't account for that, it can mess up your launch date, unfortunately. Yes. And you don't want that to happen.
Yes, that is 100% true.
Yeah. Okay. Anything you want to pop in here, you definitely can.
Yeah, I would just say that plan for that. Actually, I mean, with a traditional publisher, that's not going to be the case. They will, when they look at your book, they will set out a timeline that they know is going to meet that. But if you're working through the process with an agent, for example, I have a friend who was picked up by an agent, and her book has been in heavy rewrites and developmental editing through the agent for almost a year. So sometimes the agent can't even pitch. They may believe in your book and want to pitch it, but there's a lot of work that has to be done out there. Now, if you're working with a small publisher, if you're self-publishing, if you're working with a hybrid press, there's a little more wiggle room and flexibility in the publication dates. But yeah, we've had times where books we thought were pretty much ready to go, and then we got feedback from an editor that they needed a whole nother round of revisions. And sometimes that can take weeks or months or a year, depending on how long it takes you to do those revisions. So if you're self-publishing, I would encourage you not to set a publication date until you're pretty well through editing.
Exactly. And I do want to mention that it's not necessarily bad when you have to go through this revision stage. I know that it's not convenient.
It's painful, but it's not bad.
It's not convenient. It's not something you want to happen. However, you will have a better manuscript for it. And if they have specifics, there's reasons why. We don't just dig into it and say, okay, I want to spend another week or two. In my company, we're very cutthroat on making sure that we deliver on the promised deadline. And I think that's important. But at the same point, if we do have some writing challenges, or English as a second language, or maybe at the beginning your blurb doesn't match what you're actually produced and you're not engaging your writers, that's super important, you know?
I'm just laughing at Elizabeth's comment. Yes, if you are highly date and what's it called, a deadline driven, then sometimes setting a deadline is the way that gets people across the thing, Elizabeth. So
It's true. It's true. It's the only way to get you over. So, and then again, we mentioned who is right for your book. It's fine. Do a sample, find out that you're a good match. And, I would be weary of freelancers in general because they have a life. And if you don't have a team, if you don't have an editorial service, a team of editors, it can be very difficult to get it delivered on that timeline that we're talking about. And so that could be detrimental to you. So again, make sure on that. So those are my questions. So
Joel and Sherry had a good question. If you've
okay,
never
good.
submitted or worked with an editor, what are you looking for in the sample edit? That's a great question.
Yeah, exactly. From the editor or from the author's perspective, what you're looking for is that they're clearly communicating the changes that they're making. You can see that they're making actual edits, that they are, if you have questions regarding why they made a change, that they can give you clear reasons. And quite often, a good editor doesn't always, depending upon the level of editing, they don't always just give you the answers. Sometimes they will have questions or they'll encourage you to think deeply about why you've chosen to present things in the way you have. And their ideas, they're fresh eyes. So they're looking at it as a reader would, and they're thinking, well, I got lost here. So they're going to point that out to you. And remember, you've been in the woods so long, you can't see the trees anymore. And so it's very important to have the editor there. But look for their communication skills, look for their testimonials, look for their success rates, look for does it feel right? If something in your stomach doesn't click, there are more people out there, and there's no shame in that. You really have to, this is your baby, and there you want to give it to somebody who's really going to take good care of it. So make sure they are. And of course, they should also have experience in your genre and things like that. So communication, can you really, if something goes wrong, and things do, is there a set procedure for resolving that? If
Mm.
you find errors or you're unable to figure out why they've done something and you want clarification, how do you communicate? What are their satisfaction guarantees? What are their promises? All of that is super important for the author to look for.
Yeah,
So, get that
just
sample.
a couple of people were really surprised that you could submit a sample edit. So I wanted to just throw in there, it's a huge red flag if an editor will not give you a sample edit. So they're
Yeah.
not going to sample edit half of your book. It may be
No.
5 pages. It may be just a little sample, but you should at least get a feel from them, like what level they're going into with the level of detail and all of that stuff. And if somebody says they don't do a sample edit, go somewhere place else. There's plenty of other editors out there.
Yeah. I mean, and some people charge for it, and that's okay too. Ours are free because in the end it works out for everyone. But I can tell you that, even on the smallest edit, you'll be able to see, how many edits they're making in 5 paragraphs, literally. If the clarity of your sentences and they're overlooking, they're not going to be able to give you a total critique of the entire story arc, but they can definitely say, okay, this made sense, but now there's something missing here. I was going through a couple edits today, and it's just amazing how short a sample can be and still reveal so much so quickly. And it's just fascinating. It is magical because it's like a master pianist sitting down with a beginner player. They just hear it so quickly. They're like, "Oh, you're struggling here. You need to be stronger on this finger.
Yeah.
You need to." You're like, "Wow, how did they
Yeah.
do that?" They're just that's what they do every day. So it's quite amazing. All right. Moving along, I do want to go there. So, why do we self edit first? From the publisher's perspective, do you have anything that you want to contribute there?
Yeah, the biggest thing is price from my
Yeah.
perspective. Like you can really reduce the timeline and the price of what you're going to get from editing if you take the time to run through the self edit first. And someone asked if you're using Pro Writing Aid, that is a self editing tool. You definitely still want to work with a non AI, i.e., a live person once you've gone through the self editing process. But you can really reduce your timeline and have a much better manuscript by the time you submit it to an editor by
Right.
self editing.
Right, and it helps you also to write the instructions very well, because when you self-edit, and I'm going to give you 5 tips here in a minute on how to do that and how to approach that. So we'll get right next to that. But when you can look at it fresh and you come in, then you'll find the questions that maybe you don't really know how to solve it, but you sense something's wrong, and I would just highlight those areas and wait until you can ask somebody. There's also it allows you to look at it. Perhaps now you have the guidelines for submission, so you're starting to see what you can and can't do there. You'll have a different perspective, so it's very, very important. So self-editing is important because it allows you to send the correct questions. It allows you to have a clear focus on, you know when you're writing is separately from when you're editing. So you're looking at it again according to syntax, the rules and regulations of writing in English. So that's where we're going. So drum roll, please. Let's talk about those 5 super important editing tips. I'm just going to bring those up one by one here. And again, please enter your questions as we do this. So my first recommendation is take a pause. I know that sounds strange, but you really just need to take a break after you finish and you go, yeah, I'm done. I mean, whatever way you relax, go do it and come back a minimum of a week later, because you need to let it all filter down. You were so busy in it and you can't see it fresh. So you need to let your brain, all the sand sink to the bottom and let that work its way out. And then our second one is I want you to approach it new. So when you're approaching this, because you're familiar with it, you really need to either read it out loud or have it read out loud to you. You can do that on the computer or have somebody do it for you. You want to maybe read from the front to back, and I don't mean the sentences, but you can read the last page and then the second to last page and third to last pages, because then you're looking at it from, does this page make sense? Does it line to line? Is it cohesive? Does it convey the message I'm trying to do? And then, of course, go back and look at your blurb. Whatever promise you're making to your readers, to your publisher, your agent, and that, you need to make sure that you're actually delivering that. And that's very, very important. So that's part of the editing process. And so approach it from a fresh perspective after taking a pause and read it in a different way. And of course, when you're doing this, the third most important thing is to make sure that you're just editing. You're not writing. You're not creating. You're not filling in blanks. You are cutting and pasting and looking for all the underlying words and making sure it's right or wrong. You're using the editing tools. You're using ProWriting Aid. You're using whatever writing system you're doing. A lot of those in there. You're using basic word track changes, and you're looking through their, what do you say, their different ways of checking through it and making sure that it's all working there for you. So then once you have those, like I mentioned, I really want you to mark the areas that you can't resolve yourself, or that you just have that sense. And I keep saying, listen to your stomach, but really, if something isn't clicking there, it'll be even stronger for somebody who doesn't understand what you're doing. And it can be something not necessarily that you don't understand, but maybe you feel like, why isn't this strong enough? How do I make this stronger? How do I make this more active? How do I ask, nonfiction? How do I ask them to come to my website? How do I engage them? What is my purpose here? Is it clear? Am I doing it in a way that is authoritative but likable? In all these different ways that you're doing it. So come back to your editor with those. And you can also, by reviewing it, writing it out yourself, and then you sleep on it. Sometimes those answers come to you in the middle of the night, and you can solve a lot of these problems. So it's not a one-time process, but it'll allow you to get through and do some of those revisions. And then, of course, in the end, I want you to identify the key scenes, the major important things that are happening in your book. With fiction, that's going to be your characters and your story arc and things like that. In nonfiction, it's again, what is your supports? What is your what are you trying to do? Are you educating? Is it educational, inspirational, motivational? And if so, what are you supporting those topics with? How are you the authority? Why are you qualified to advise people on this? And how can you make it memorable, etc.? So in all of that, even in nonfiction, I'd say that's a plot hole if you're missing those key elements. And you need to make sure that if you're missing something, it's great that you know that. Maybe you can't solve it, but if you can come in to an editor and say, I am having trouble with this, this, and this, man, they love you. They love to solve your problems. And because, just staring at a blank page it's fine and it's interesting, but to really dig in from the beginning, it's like the student comes to the front of the class with questions. It doesn't always happen. So they get pretty excited about that. Anything you want to add to that, Alexa?
No, I think you covered that. Writing and editing is not my thing, it's yours. So
All right. Well, this is our final question. So everyone start typing your questions for us. Alexa, I want to know, how do you submit your manuscript or novel? I mean, let's just go to the very basics here. After your copy editing and formatting your proofreading, which we're kind of glossing over today, how are we going to outline the steps to submission? I know you have helpful hints and maybe a checklist or something. I don't know.
yeah, so again, this depends on your route to publication. If you're going
Mhm.
to through an agent, you're going to want to make sure that you are looking very carefully at their submission requirements and follow those to a T. To a T. Do not try to do anything different. Do exactly what they ask. The same if you're going through a smaller traditional that takes unsolicited, which means you don't have an agent to submit your manuscript. You're going to want to look up the publisher's submission guidelines and follow that. If you're going through a hybrid press, and this is an opportunity for me to answer some questions about hybrid press that I've seen in the chat too. But again, all of hybrid presses have a very specific submission guideline that you can follow. So a hybrid press, it basically is a partnership press. They operate in terms of how you're published like a traditional publisher would, where you get distributed to the things that happen, paying you out royalties and all of that. But it's a shared risk factor basically, so the author does contribute some of the financial, you pay basically for some of the services that happen through that. And most there are some very, very, very legit hybrid presses that are working well and doing wonderfully. Lots of good ones out there. She Writes Press, Purple Butterfly Press, my company, is a hybrid children's book. We've got Top Reads Press, we have Emerald Lake Press. There are a ton of them. We have a lot of hybrid presses that attend the Women in Publishing Summit as well. And also as a resource to you, if you want to learn more about what a hybrid publisher is and what the difference between different types, I have the Publish Her podcast, which I shouldn't have been so creative in my naming because now nobody knows how to spell it, but it's Publish and Her in one word. So Publish Her with 2 H's podcast. If you Google that, you'll find the podcast in episodes 2 and 3. Episode 2 is with Brooke Warner, who's the CEO of She Writes Press, and we talk all about hybrid presses. And then episode 3 is what is the distinction between hybrid, vanity, and some other types. So you can go through and listen to that and get educated on those. But basically, the most important thing if you're submitting is to follow the submission guidelines. They are there for you on those places. You should be able to find them either through the resources like Query Tracker, the publisher's marketplace, or the actual website of the agent or the publisher in question.
Exactly.
Thank you.
That's very well done. I mean, always follow the instructions, follow the rules. There's just too many people knocking down the doors trying to get in. And if you can't follow the basic rules, they don't want to work with you.
And just to answer a couple of these other questions in
Sure.
here, the reliable hybrid presses, that's really hard. I'm just going to be honest, and it's really hard to answer that question. What you can do is you can look up Better Business. If you're thinking about going with a publisher, you can look up to see if there's been any reports against them. You can Google negative reviews on this press plus their name. You can go to Writers Beware. You can go to places like that. You can contact other people that they have published and see if there's any information out there. But there are a lot of really great smaller publishing houses, both traditional that don't charge and hybrid presses. And there's a checklist that the Independent Book Publishers Association created about hybrid presses and questions you can ask or things that you should know. So you can Google the IBPA hybrid press whatever they call it. If you just put in that, you should get a good answer of that. But in terms of like, it's really up to you. And I really want to, I really want to take a moment here. I really do, because as Joellen mentioned at the very beginning, I do consider myself an advocate for authors, and I've seen some horrible things happen to people. It is your responsibility. The burden is on you to make sure that you've done your research, to make sure if someone presents you with a contract that you have somebody look it over, that you make sure that you're comfortable with it, that you find out if it's a reputable company or not. That being said, note that every company has bad experiences. I have 99% really happy people and 1% that weren't. So there may be somebody who says bad stuff about anybody. So just like bad reviews, understand the big context of it, and do your research. Go into authors groups, join the Authors Guild, wonderful, wonderful advocacy group for authors, and where you can go into forums and ask people, educate yourself and arm yourself. Red flags: if somebody says you have to sign this contract today and pay $10,000 by tomorrow or you're out, go, run away, but things like that. So yeah. So in terms of my company, so I operate 3 hybrid presses. One is a children's book company called Purple Butterfly Press. We're currently not open for submissions, but you can go to our website and you can get on our email list. And when we do open, we will let you know. We have 2 other hybrid. Well, one is is actually a traditional company, but we're closed for submissions on that too. And then the third one is called Cat Biggie Press, and we do women's inspirational and healing, grief, loss, trauma, business inspiration, those types of things. So through Write, Publish, Sell, we don't actually publish any authors, but we do have tons of resources for you on our website. We do have coaching, consulting. I do consulting with authors. We have WIP School, which is a monthly membership where people can come in and ask all their questions and get support. And we do lots of great work in that. So that's what my company does. Thank you for asking that. So what type of attorney should you hire to look at a contract? Again, I want to refer you to the Independent Book Publishers Association. They have a list of resources, and on that is a list of lawyers that work with publishers, but also I would bet the Authors Guild has some really great resources from that as well.
They're very good. And of course, now they're asking you what type of attorney should you hire, and the, who to go after. It. I really do. It is buyers beware. Writers beware, writers beware, but writers beware. Okay.
Yes. So Hattie, if you've had some issues with your publisher, what I would tell you to do is to get into your contract and see what your exit, what they allow for exiting. Most hybrid presses and also the self-publishing assist or the vanity presses have an exit plan. You own the rights and you can get out based on certain things, but you need to know what that is and then follow those steps. In terms of finding a different one, I would ask other authors that publish similar books, or just go out and do some research and look for what looks like good reputable companies, schedule a call, submit their inquiry form, do something and along those lines. But it is challenging, and it's very heartbreaking to see when somebody gets taken through the ringer, especially when there's a lot of money involved. So don't make a quick decision. I'm telling you, as a publisher myself, the publishing process is long. So I am in absolutely no hurry to push anybody into a contract that they're not comfortable with, and will take the time to answer the questions. And keep in mind, the larger the company gets, the less time they have to do that. So there's a lot of things there, but I would encourage you really, really to just get in communities, ask questions. We have a free Facebook group that's under Write, Publish, Sell, where you can come in and ask questions. But with the Women in Publishing Summit coming up so soon, and by the way, I do have a $50 off coupon that is
nice.
50 OFFWIP23. So 50 OFF 50 off WIP23. There's agents, there's publishers, there's tons of authors that have been around for a long time that can answer questions. We do lots of networking. Joellen will be there. There's a lot of opportunity to get in rooms with people and ask
Mhm.
these types of questions from the people who have gone through it. So
Right. And she's not new on the block. Alexa's been doing this many years, so you've really got a great lineup this year. It's really filling out. It's becoming fantastic. One of the questions was limited resources, and of course, there's loads of information out there. Um, I like the apps and the writing tools and that, and I'm not saying you should get a bunch of those. Don't think that you need a lot. Really, you can start with a writing app that you like or use, or an editing app that you like or use, and just stick with that. You don't really need to blow it up, because there's a learning curve with every single one of those, and the learning curve really takes a lot of the fun out of it. So it is getting better, but you still have to be able to stick with that. So if that's your thing, great. If it's not, then just beware, decide what you need, and go with that. But that will help you a lot. Also, getting into beta readers, getting into these forums, those are very, very helpful. And, just the more you can do yourself, the less you have to invest in this process. But it's really important that you get validation that you are at the right level, and you get, somebody who says, yeah, okay, it's good to submit, because you get one shot, and then that's it.
mhm.
They really don't have time or energy to go back. The slush pile is just a slush email system there. So there's a lot of that. All right, so let's see if we have any other. Oh, more questions coming in. Oh no.
We have a lot of really specific questions to the hybrid
Okay.
press and vanity presses
Yep.
and things like that. And I would tell you to go look up Publish Her podcast and go to episodes 2 and 3, where we talk about a lot of these things. Come into because I don't want to eat up all of our time talking about those things today. We could talk for days and days and days. But yes, I would say it's definitely a red flag if anybody ever promises you a certain amount of sales. That's
Yeah.
just BS. I'm telling you
Yeah.
right now, having published a lot of books. The books that some we thought would sell thousands of copies sold not anywhere near that. And a book I didn't think would really take off sold all kinds of copies. You do not know, because there's so many variables out there. Even it was
Yeah.
so interesting when all of the Department of Justice stuff was going on, with all of the stuff happening with Simon and Schuster and the acquisitions, and they were looking into all of that stuff. If you were following any of that this summer, like some of the biggest publishing houses out there said, we don't always know what's going to sell. We just try to hope that the ones that we think are going to sell actually sell. So if somebody's promising you anything, that is indeed a red flag.
Right.
And then beta readers, ask other authors, ask other people who are interested in your genre and topic, go into authors groups. If you have a local, I'm part of the South Carolina Writers Association. Every state has something similar to that. Those are great and useful tools for things like that as well. And Hattie, again, go back to your contract, because your royalties should have been explicitly put into your contract. So if they're making a change to your royalties, that's a breach of contract. If there was nothing, this is another red flag for everybody when you're reviewing a contract. If it says nothing about your royalties and how you're going to get them and when you're going to get them, and sometimes those things do change. That's, as a publisher, I can tell you sometimes those things do need to change, but usually it happens in discussion with the author. But it shouldn't just be, oh, we're just not going to pay you what we said we were going to pay you. That's an issue.
True. Very true. So we have here an editor. Kayla, you're asking about editing must happen prior to illustrations with the children's picture book. Absolutely. But when is it best to start the process for formal editing? Again, once you have that full manuscript, and you can clearly, you have a beginning, middle, and end, because this is going to be a narrative, then that's the time that you're ready. And that just depends. Are you still trying to develop it? Make sure that the plot holes in that are clear. Then you want to do developmental editing. And that's when you have concerns of, is it strong enough? Does it have the right, does it really reach the audience? Does it have the characters clear? Does it flow according to the genre and according to the people that you're presenting it to? Once you've done that and you go into your revisions, then it's simple to get into your line editing, and your copy editing is the final edit that you do before formatting. So if you are having questions and you feel like you are not able to make the changes anymore, and you don't have anything that you feel you're working on, it's time to start. And again, send us your manuscript. We'll take a look at it and we can tell you what level you need and where it is. But if you have your specific questions, it's very easy for the editors to respond to that.
While you're talking about children's books, they've gone way back in the chat there, but a couple of people asked about sample edits for children's picture books
Mhm.
because the content is, and
Difficult.
you can answer this as first editing, but because the content is so small and usually
Yeah.
between 400 and 1,000 words, I don't generally see editors doing sample
No.
edits. I don't, do y'all? No, but
No.
the price of editing a book that's 1,000 words is significantly different than somebody who comes in with a 20 to 100,000 word.
Yeah.
So
It's a big difference. So yeah, but you can also look and see, a good way to find out is that there, at least on our website, we've got thousands of testimonials from the clients over the years, and we just put them in there so you can search through that, or if you want a little more information, we can talk to you about it. But we send our best to work with you. We select the editor on your behalf according to who's best qualified for that. Says we missed a question here, Kathy. Do some editors make recommendations and better yet referrals to agents? Does First Editing do this? We do not. We are an online editing service that really gets you prepared to do the submissions, but we're not in-house. Many of our editors have worked with different authors, and maybe they might slip something out there, but in general, you need to be aware. You need to have a plan of attack. You need to know who you're emulating, what your genre is, and where you're going, and start there, because we're making sure that it's acceptable and it's readable, that there's not going to be any problems with it being accepted in terms of, okay, I'll take my time and read this through, which is step one. They may, if you find an agent and you get into a publishing house, they may very well do a total re-edit inside according to what they know sells according to their audience. And again, that's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean the first editor didn't do their
correct.
job. It just means that they know how to sell it. And that's who you want to be listening to, because they're going to take it to their people to sell. So we're doing more general across the board. This is the most professional way to not embarrass yourself, that there's no errors that are blatant there. It's comprehensive, it's cohesive, it makes sense, all of those things to make sure that you can go to the next level, find the editor next. So I know everybody wants a magic bullet that gives them everything, but anybody who promises you it all, you need to beware. We do what we do and we do it well, and we have other people out there, and that's why we're doing this program today is to talk about that. And that's why the women in publishing summit will happen, and there'll be other agents there, and it's super exciting and fun. So know what you're looking for. So
can I piggyback on that one just a little bit? So what you might, if you've heard of this happening, I think it was Kathy that asked that. So there are some acquisitions editors who work for traditional publishing houses and their job is actually as an editor to get the best manuscripts and to work with an author and all of that. Some of them freelance. So it's possible that if you have somebody who worked with an editor that referred them to an agent, a lot of those types of folks will have connections. But to Joellen's point, like what they're doing is they're getting you to the point where an agent even wants to look at your book. So it's really important to have that first level of editing done before you even submit it out there. And then 50. So it's 50 OFF-WIP-23. I don't know if you can put that on the block or whatever. That's the coupon code for $50 off. OFF-WIP-23.
23. Gotcha.
And you go to womeninpublishingsummit.com, you enter that coupon code in the little box to the right under the price. It will take off $50 off of the still in early bird pricing. And yes, you may feel free to share that with all your friends, because thanks to our sponsors like First Editing, we're able to keep the pricing as low as possible. So by all means, invite your friends and share that. And then Elizabeth, yes, that's a great point. And I know Elizabeth in person. So we've had many conversations about the beta reading process and all of this. Authors can be great beta readers, but readers that are very familiar with your genre and read your type of book. A case in point, we have a book that we're working on through one of our one-on-one clients. And it just so happens that one of my team members is like an avid reader in her genre. And so she's been actually able to give some feedback to the book, not because she's an editor, she's not an editor at all, but she knows what she would be looking for as a reader. So that's a great point. Thank you, Armgard. I appreciate that. Yes.
It is worth every penny. And it's so great. And go ahead, you attend the event and then get the what is it, all pass or whatever, so that you can really come back to it, because there will be so much great information that you want to be able to return again and again to different things. My advice when you go to a summit is to aim for one golden nugget. And I know that sounds really simplistic, but that's what I do. I look for one thing that when I go home, if I implement it, I can instantly see everything got better. And then I go back and I look for the next one. But you're going to be bombarded with so many great ideas and you just can't possibly take it in. So what you do is you find what it is that you need at this moment that can change and simplify or answer that question. And it's, if you get that magical genie answer, it's so great.
It's so true. And, every time I attend a conference like this, one of the things that people ask a lot when we're talking, when people are like, well, I attended last year, should I attend this year? And I have attended conference after conference, year after year, my own conference. There has not been a session yet. This is, I can't remember if this is our 8th or 9th year. I have not learned something from a single session in all this time. Like there's just, first of all, every time you attend a conference, you're in a different mindset and you're also in a different phase of your journey. So you'll learn different things based on that. After 10 years in it, I'm still learning new stuff every single day because the industry changes. We get better at our craft. We get better at what we're doing behind the scenes. So to me, I mean, obviously it's my conference. I want to promote it, but just for me talking to you as author to author, some of the most fundamental changes that I've made in my business as a publisher and an author have come from conversations had in events like this. And it's so, like I said at the very beginning, like knowledge is truly power. We're not just talking about a commercial that we see on TV. Like knowledge in this industry is going to help you no matter how you are going through as whether you're submitting to agents, whether you're self-publishing, whether you're doing a self-publishing assist, whether you're doing a hybrid. There's so many different routes and opportunities. And if you're one golden nugget from this, well, it's 2. Get your book edited before you do anything. And 2 is to take the time to professionalize yourself as an author. This is a hard business, y'all. I wish I could tell you that we can all just go out there and make millions of dollars, but this is a hard business. And the people who commit to being professional authors and learning and taking the right steps and doing the right things, you will see growth and progress. But you have to know going into it that it's not just going to be, I'm just going to write my book, get somebody to format it, throw it up on Amazon, and boom, I'm a bestseller. It just doesn't work that way. No. So, yes. Well, so Michael, to your point, I want to answer Michael here because I don't want anybody to think that I'm against the men. Some of the most influential people in my journey have been men. So I just want to make that, I'm doing, Dave Chesson from Kindlepreneur, Publisher Rocket, all of that. Tom Marquez from, what is the name of his publishing company? I don't even know, but he does all of the info stack and the writing info stack. Paul Brody,
Carrie Richards,
Paul Brody. Like no slant. In fact, Tom was my coach, and he actually coached me through the process of creating the Women in Publishing Summit, because what we saw was that at the time there were lots of conferences out there that were highly focused on featuring the men and the things we're doing out there. So I just decided to create a subset. Men are more than welcome to join us and attend, and we have men attend, but my promise is to feature the women who are out there. Now, we would have men who come in because some of our sponsors are run by men, so we're going to have them there. But that's why we did it, was to create a little niche that was a place, because women do things differently. We talk about different things. We have different fears and different, but the content is great. And we invite everyone who wants to attend. Just know that all the speakers are going to be women.
Well, there you go. But yeah, it's definitely great. I am so excited about this. I don't see any more questions right now, so I think we're really
Right.
gonna look forward to our next one. This is the first of 4 series. I do again. I ask you, please, if you enjoy what you've learned today, please subscribe, like, share, tell your friends. We will send out a replay so that you have this information, and it's just great meeting here. We're doing this strategically over the next 4 months or roughly there. So Alexa will be back, but attend her summit, and I will see you all there also. And we've got a great giveaway. We're going to be giving away a free consultation, an editing consultation. All you got to do is pop onto our website and sign up. You can download an ebook. Right now, that is, yeah, you can go to firstediting.com and /WIP, and you can register even now. We'll let you go early. How's that? That doesn't hurt.
Hattie wants us to skip February 9th. We're not doing this weekly. We originally thought we would do it weekly and then realized it was way too aggressive for both of us to do this. So I think we scheduled is it every 2 weeks? Once a month?
No, it's every like
What did we
3 or
land on?
4. Let me see here. I just closed it. I'll send it to you guys. It's all on Eventbrite already. You should be able to see it there. But yeah, we're taking it nice and easy. We're hitting the first quarter of the year well, and we hope that you've enjoyed this. We promised you 15 minutes of intensive information, which we did, and we answered an awful lot of questions. Yes.
Yes, we did. This was fantastic. Y'all brought really good questions. So
Yes.
thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Alexa. I look forward to seeing you all again soon. And everyone who came, please leave your name, say hello, subscribe, like, and we'll see you all again soon. Make sure you sign up for the Women in Publishing Summit, and I'll see you there.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Let's see.